Well, the garden is still holding its own despite the onward march of extremely hot weather. The shade covers have helped, but it is just too hot for some plants to hold on to flowers for anything to grow. But despite the weather, I resolved to work with the things in the garden that could manage the heat. Like the pole beans that continue to climb their trellis, and the collards, while not huge, are still producing for a meal or two. I'm also getting tomatoes, but some are smaller than usual, and the peppers just keep going, which is a good thing. I've even been able to harvest some onions from around the beds and have laid them out to cure. The loofah plants are producing, but I have to keep an eye on them because you want to cook them when they're small, and they seem to get big overnight, and then only useful for scrubbing brushes. But on a brighter note, remember the black-eyed peas I planted? They came up quickly and have really taken off in all the beds. The ones in this container went from this to this in a very short period of time. And even the watermelon seeds managed to sprout and have gradually begun to spread out despite the heat. So for now, my focus is on taking care of things that need attention, like the banana plant that came in a really small pot that is now hindering its growth. Banana plants can quickly spread and take over, so I've decided to plant this one in a 27-gallon container that will allow it plenty of room to grow. The first thing I needed to do before planting is drill holes in the container. I'm doing the sides so the roots can't escape through the bottom and into the ground to take root. Sunny Girl was very interested in what I was doing. Next, I firmly believe in hugelkultur, so putting rotted tree limbs and leaves in a container bottom is second nature. They both help to create microbes in the soil in addition to retaining moisture. And while it doesn't stop leveling of the soil, it does reduce it. Next comes the compost. Before putting in the banana tree, I separated one of the two pups so it's not sucking energy from the main tree as it tries to establish itself. Once the trees are settled, I finish by adding topsoil. All that remains is to put the container on a dolly and move it to a location that will protect it as it settles in. To help it settle in, I add some of my homemade bone meal for a little extra nutrition. Then came putting in the sweet potatoes that had developed chits and had been waiting for me to get them in the ground for the longest time. They'll share a bed with pole beans for nitrogen fixing and the watermelon plant. It made sense to give them a little of the homemade bone meal as well. No sooner had I finished with the sweet potatoes than dark clouds moved in and heavy raining began. In a way, it was a labor saver because it saved me having to water the plants in. The next day, I decided to finish a project I'd been meaning to get around to for quite a while. I wanted to replace my old 70s kitchen faucet with a pull-out handle, so I could wash down dishes and vegetables easier. I'll spare you the gnashing of teeth and bad words as I worked under the sink and just give you the before, during, and after. I'll come back later and recaulk the back of the sink. I'm just glad I finally got it done. And then I had one last task to do. I had a bunch of packing paper I needed to cut up and add to my compost bucket. One good part of high temperatures is that it speeds up the breakdown of greens and browns to make compost, and the packing paper is free browns. Once I had them cut up, I simply had to add them to the compost bucket and let nature take care of the rest. I was now free to begin the process of storing and making salsa from the tomatoes I harvested. But that is another video. See you next time.